And so rich is an attitude as much as it is a structure or a volume of money. You can be rich if you can earn $10,000 a month, but you've come from a place of earning $500 a month. Jesus didn't say that a rich man couldn't enter the kingdom. He said it was difficult, like a camel trying to get through a narrow gate. The problem is that if we're worried about being a rich man going to heaven, how is it that we manage our money? How is it that we go and ensure that when it is our time to go to heaven, that we're not a rich man, and yet we've still achieved what Solomon taught, which is to leave an inheritance for your children's children? In the video today, I want to share with you how it is I help my clients structure themselves so that they are no longer a rich man. In fact, for most of their later years, they're simply an employee of something that allows them to function forever. So I want you to get a pen and paper, because what I'm going to share with you today will work anywhere around the world and will help you understand the interplay between businesses and trusts and what it is that you can do to ensure that you live the lifestyle that you desire without being the rich person when you go to heaven. Now, I want you to know that being a rich person isn't just about the wealth that you've accumulated. Being a rich person is a thing that's in your mind. And so being a rich person, part of it is to understand that no matter how much wealth it is that you've got access to, is that ultimately you have an insignificant amount of access to wealth in comparison to God himself. And I personally believe, and this is a personal thought, that what Jesus was referring to in this verse about the camel through the eye of the needle was people who believed they were so rich that they were richer and had more influence than God himself. And so rich is an attitude as much as it is a structure or a volume of money. You can be rich if you can earn $10,000 a month, but you've come from a place of earning $500 a month. You equally could be rich moving from $100,000 a month to $10 million a month. Equally, you could move to $10 million a month and still be humble with that 10 million and be a grower of the kingdom. Now, it's important with what I share with you today that you start from the bottom up, to ensure that you do the right things in the right order and that you don't decide to do things that you're not ready for before you're ready for it. So the very first thing you need to go and do is have your very first company. It's either going to be an LLC or an L Limited, depending upon where it is you are in the world. In the States, it'll be LLC. In Europe and South Africa and Australia, it'll be a limited, an LLTD. Both are limited liability companies. Now, there's many other sorts of businesses out there, and I would suggest that you speak to an accountant about setting up what's best for you. But for me, 99.9% of the time, this is what I do, and I trade Kingdompreneur through one of these. That means that all of the money that we make in Kingdompreneur goes into an LLC or a limited business, and this business pays me both a salary and it pays me a dividend. Now, when this gets to a certain size, or you start to get more ambitious with your businesses, you may well decide to go and have a second one. And at the time you decide to get a second one, it's probably useful to think about getting a third one as well. And so if we're going to go and decide to have a property portfolio at the same time, we would open up a second business with a property portfolio, number 2, and we'd open up a third business up here that is now going to buy this business and is going to own this business. And the only thing that you own for this point in time is you own this, the holding company. My holding company is called Hogsview, and it owns all the other businesses and shares in other businesses I have, which means I can expense my lifestyle through these, you know, the car and the elements of the office and all those other things, the dinners out and so on and so forth, and I can expense more through this. And the only place I have to manage my affairs is through this business here when I end up here. And I've actually got several of these businesses, but 2, you could have another one and another one if you wanted to. You have as many as you like, all owned by your holding company, right? Now, this helps you manage your world, but I want you to know that you need to wait to build this structure, because each one of these businesses needs to have an annual tax return done and the books managed and submitted. They need to be paying their taxes. And in most countries on planet Earth, you cannot be the owner of more than one business that does more than one, that does the same thing. So for instance, I can't have Kingdompreneur as a coaching business, and then another coaching business just here, because effectively I own two businesses and the tax authorities will frown on that and often say it's illegal. So that money, the profit from these businesses goes to here. And now I own one business. And the job of this business is to grow these businesses, right? Effectively now, I can build these businesses, and a great point to do this is when I'm no longer needed in here, it's a great time to open this one and this one. Effectively, the goal is for me to only work within my holding company, and these businesses run themselves. And I'm the managing director, if you want to say, of these businesses, but I don't own any equity in this, or this. Now, after a while, obviously, this business will make quite a lot of money, and we want to future-proof this business. And the thing we establish after that is a trust. And the profit from all of these business goes to here, and all of there goes to there, to your trust. There's a lot of confusion around what a trust is. A trust, effectively, is a living being that never dies. That's effectively what it is. It's like a human, but on paper, that lives forever. Now, at this point in time, you stop owning anything because the trust owns this owns these. You can't own a trust because it's owned by the trust itself. It has some people who run the trust for you. Normally, you have a small board and you have a family member and a lawyer and an accountant, often as the three people. But you then become a beneficiary of the trust, where the trust pays you. All of your wealth gets accumulated here, and it's the trust that lives on beyond you. So when you pass on one day, the trust then is a beneficiary, and you have beneficiary, your kids, and your kids' kids live through this. The benefit of this is that normally when you die, if you die just here, you haven't got your trust yet. If you die just here, normally there is a large amount of different taxes that gets claimed on your personal name. Things like inheritance tax, capital gains tax, so on and so forth. By having all the money sat and possessions and properties and businesses sat owned by the trust, because the trust never dies, even when you die, there is no capital gains for your beneficiaries to pay. There is no, or your kids to pay. There is no inheritance tax for you to pay. And you personally are not a rich person, which makes it easier, but not foolproof, easier for you to pass through the eye of the needle more easily than that camel and go and seek your place with Jesus. Now, of course, the trust can then be left with a series of instructions. How does the trust benefit the kingdom? What's its tithing policy? How's it giving to missions? What's it sponsoring in terms of God's work, Jesus' work, so on and so forth, so that when your kids get to have access to it, it's already bulletproof and they don't get to go and corrupt the work that you've set about your trust doing for Christ when it is that you leave. Now you've created a system where your children's children can actually have the inheritance that Solomon speaks about. And that is how a believer can use the world system to structure their finances to actually ensure that when they pass on one day in their human form, that they're not a rich person who owns lots of businesses, but the beneficiary of a trust where they volunteer their time to the kingdom and to these businesses as a volunteer to ensure that they run forever. Now, this might sound like hocus pocus, but this is exactly a simple model of how the world's richest people manage their money, the world's richest believers manage their money, and how so many people, including the oldest human business alive, which I think is in Japan at this point in time, 1,200 years old, how that's managed as well. And so start from the bottom up, build this upwards, and ensure that when you leave your children's children the inheritance structure that generates cash flow that they deserve, and that you're not personally this rich man with lots of baggage that prevents you from going through the eye of the needle on your way to go to heaven at the end of your days. God bless.